flight logs to lawmakers, probably because she's a racist. But luckily, acting in the best interest of the American people, and also a little bit in the interest of the elites who control him, Dick Durbin blocked the subpoena request. You heard that right. He went out of his way to block an action that would reveal the names of people involved in the sex trafficking of minors.
Why would you do that? What do you have to hide?
Because he's probably on the list. So this one is Chandler with JP.
With JP. This is great. All right, let's do it.
What's up, Four Eyes?
These are just for looks, but what if I actually needed these? Huh? Your mom is so fat, she needs her own zip code. Oh! I actually have 2 dads, so that's offensive.
Well, you're just all hat and no cattle.
Zing! As a vegan that doesn't look good in hats, that's really messed up.
Wow, what a noob.
Whoa, mansplaining much? You're mansplaining me now? I may be inexperienced, but you don't have to assume that I'm inexperienced, because that's assuming and mansplaining, and that's like a double felony right there.
This is a book, motherfucker.
Somebody's got their panties in a twist, am I right? I actually go commando, so that's offensive.
For the record, she's commando, but we do not support the military. Such a goody two-shoes.
Whoa, 2 shoes? I actually identify as a pirate, and I only wear 1 shoe.
She's missing a leg.
I know you are, but what am I?
Whoa. You're just assuming that I identify as I?
Girls go to college to get more knowledge. Boys go to Jupiter to get more stupider. Oh! I actually don't hear anything wrong with that one.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah, go on. Why don't you make a tree and leave? Oh!
Joke's on you. I identify as a tree, so I will be staying put. Nerd.
Fascist. Geek. Bigot.
You weren't held enough as a child and you deserved it.
Just your white male presence alone is triggering to my eyes. I just can't even deal with you in my presence. So can you just go somewhere else?
It's literal violence. Are you okay?
I don't think I am okay.
Oh my word.
That's a perfect depiction of our culture today, and how easy people are willing to be offended on every single issue. This is a perfect description. Oh my goodness, that was sad. It's pretty bad. How did it get this bad is my question.
Because people fall for it, they fall for all the race baiting and left versus right and us versus them, and
yeah.
It's instead of focusing on the broader, bigger picture, everybody's looking into a microcosm of their own little bubble.
Mm-hmm.
And they want their own biases reinforced, so they stick to their own little bubble and echo chambers that they don't look outside and look at the broader picture.
Yeah. Wow. And I think the education system has also failed our children, and we're creating a lot of softies. I can see social media playing a role, especially among the Gen Z generation. Millennials, we're not that bad, but the Gen Z generation has become very easily offended on just about every single issue. So I think there is some level of, what do you call that? Emotional intelligence. There's a lack of that going on. So
I don't know if it's emotional intelligence, or I think it's more of emotional immaturity.
Yeah. They don't seem to be able to control their emotions easily.
Yeah, it's like they don't grow up. They don't grow up past a certain point.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do with mental health. And I think the Gen Z generation is one of the most medicated generation in our society. Everything about their behavior in the rise of social media and everything that's going on the screens, when you study how the minds and the screens and the emotion, all that stuff plays.
And I think that's another big part of it is social media.
Social media plays a great, significant role. And I think, and also when you think about woke ideology and what he's been teaching them is creating people this mindset. Yeah. Everything is offensive. You don't want to offend anyone, and this and this and that.
That's why I call it the mind virus.
Sad. All right. Well, we got more JP coming up. Guys, I would like to hear from you. Why is our generation so soft? Why are our children in a condition today where they cannot handle anything that is, even if it's true, but if it happens to be offensive in any
Counter
way
to their
whatsoever?
point of view.
Yeah, it's kind of like problematic to me. And I don't seem to understand why they feel that way. And I would like to hear from you guys. Why do you guys think this is happening? You know,
It's like that old saying goes, hard times create hard men. Hard men create easy times create soft men create hard times.
Yes. Yes.
And then the cycle repeats.
Over and over again.
Yep.
And here we are. All right, let's get to JP now.
Good evening and welcome to We Lied to You News. Shockingly, today we'll be running cover for a satanic Democrat politician. Can't wait, so let's get into it. Recently, Democrat Senator Dick Durbin has been making headlines in a very liberal way. Dick blocked a subpoena that would reveal who's on world-renowned minor-attracted person Jeffrey Epstein's flight logs. And he also suggested that we put 4 nationals who are illegally crossing our border, coming from countries that hate America, into our military. That would help our military provide just as much national security as the level of security that our border currently provides. The border that these future soldiers easily and illegally crossed. Accordingly, we have a lot of covering to do. So let's start with Epstein's flight logs. Aside from frequent flyer Bill Clinton, who's on those flight logs? Well, a popular right-wing extremist idea is that it's wrong to commit felonies against minors. Those corrupt MAGA people. And unsealing Epstein's flight logs would help shed some light on information that we've been doing our best to keep in the dark. Who were the high-profile people involved with Epstein that were committing felonies against minors? Let's find out what happened. Republican Senator Marsha Blackburn filed a subpoena with Congress to grant access to Epstein's flight logs to lawmakers, probably because she's a racist. But luckily, acting in the best interest of the American people, and also a little bit in the interest of the elites who control him, Dick Durbin blocked the subpoena request. You heard that right. He went out of his way to block an action that would reveal the names of people involved in the sex trafficking of minors.
Why would you do that? What do you have to hide?
Because he's probably on the list. I mean,
we're talking about
that, and there's probably people above him that are on the list too.
Yeah. So there are some names that cannot be revealed. I know we were talking earlier. We were saying that I don't think we will never discover the name of these people, not in our lifetime. We might read it from a history book. Maybe our grandchildren, great grandchildren might read about this in their history book. But I don't think we in this generation will ever discover the names that were on this list and what these people were up to.
Yeah.
If you go on Twitter, there's like this picture going, it's been viral, and there's a particular individual here who was getting a back rub and got on that list numerous times. I think 26 times. Flew on Mr. The guy, the island guy,
Mr. Ease.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. What do you call him? Mr. East.
Mr. E.
Okay, Mr. E. Okay, Mr. E. Yeah, he flew on his flight at least 26 times. And I kind of wonder, like, why would you be doing that if you weren't, you know what I'm saying? Is your name on that list? Who else? Let's just leave that matter alone for now. Let's get back to the video.
People involved in the sex trafficking of minors. With revealing things like that, it's all downside, no upside. But some people erroneously think this action makes Dick Durbin look like a dick who's trying to protect the guilty, even making it look like he himself is guilty. Included in that is Marsha Blackburn's tweet. Senator Dick Durbin blocked my request to access Epstein's flight logs. What are the Democrats trying to hide? Well, Marsha, he's certainly not trying to hide this. And nor are the Democrats trying to hide anything. They're just trying to protect the American people from truth. which along with words is also the same thing as violence. We need a lot of protection from that. Yet the sector of the public that still has morals and a conscience have been outraged at Dick Durbin. But luckily, a Fox News reporter caught up with Dick so he could clear the air with a perfectly good explanation. Take a look.
Durbin, can I ask you a quick question? Why won't you subpoena Jeffrey Epstein's flight logs?
So who are you?
Hillary Vaughn with Fox.
With Fox, of course. I don't know anything about his flight logs.
Why won't you subpoena them? Why don't you want to know?
I didn't know the issue. I know who Epstein was, but I certainly don't know anything about the issue.
Well, he was charged with sex trafficking, so why don't you want to know who was utilizing his private plane?
Never been raised by anyone.
Senator Blackburn has wanted to subpoena them, and there hasn't been a vote in your committee.
Said a word to me, not a word.
Aren't you curious, like, what high-profile or powerful people might be closeted predators and pedophiles? Does that concern you? So why won't you subpoena them if you can?
It's the first time anyone has raised it. Thank you, Fox.
So are you curious about it? Will you do it?
Well,
Wow.
You remember this was the type of journalism I was used to. Remember the time when journalists used to have the boldness and courage to confront people like that?
Right.
Kind of get them to admit and at least expose their iniquity. But today, you know, journalists don't do that. I mean, that was great that she asked those questions, you know.
Yeah.
She might get a visit from those three-letter alphabets. You keep talking like that. Anyway, go ahead.
I mean, that was bold of her for sure. And we need more reporters like that to actually, you know, ask the hard questions.
What do you think about these answers?
I have some thoughts. I just trying to think of a polite way to say it
and not lose my religion.
Exactly.
Did he even answer?
He avoid, deny.
Yeah,
that's all he did. And you know what? I mean, come on, dude. We know better.
That's just some bad.
You've got so many public eyes on you that you're not in this day and age. You're not going to get away with that no more.
Yeah. Oh my Lord. I mean, he really didn't. He said nobody was asking for them. Have subpoenaed these documents,
and that's
that was the request, though. That was the request.
That was the whole point.
You stopped that. That was the point of.
And you blocked it. You legitimately blocked it. That was the whole thing.
I mean, why would you do that if you don't have somebody you're trying to cover up? It's like nobody cares about it. Why wouldn't anybody care about that? This
clown world. Like we're living in clown world.
Oh my Lord. It's just crazy to me. Clown world is the way to put it, because it makes no sense. Like people's lives being destroyed, and we will never discover this truth because
unless
there
forward.
Are some names that we're just not supposed to find out about. I think that's what it is, man.
You know, unless these people come forward and be like, look, you know, this is what happened.
Yeah. And I do believe this individual, Mr. E, definitely probably was one of those guys that was set up either to politically blackmail people. It feels that way, at least. Because when you search into his background, it's like, how did he get all this money and all that? There's a lot of questions you have. And why was he going after prominent figures in society and bringing them over to his special place for some special attention? Like, why was this happening? You kind of wonder, like, was he some type of operative, you know, to be letter agency operative? Was he set up for the purpose of blackmailing people so that once your name's on that list, you gotta do what you were told? So I can understand that side of the argument. It doesn't really fully, it doesn't seem to expose exactly true, because we don't know the names that are on the list, so it's kind of hard to tell. But that individual here is one of those figures that I think we're gonna have to talk about years and years down the road. It's never gonna be, because the rest of the story is not being told. People are gonna come up with propaganda no matter what. But this is one of those figures that we're gonna be talking about for a long time.
And I think that's why he was and keep in mind I'm using air quotes when I do this, self-deleted.
Self-deleted, yeah.
Because he was going to talk.
Yeah.
He was going to sing like a canary.
Well, they could not, that couldn't happen.
And they couldn't let that happen.
Oh, that was just not going to happen, you know. Just saying. Let's go back to the video.
So are you curious about it? Will you do it?
Well, there you go. He was so certain of his innocence and good intentions that he felt secure enough to be comfortable looking guilty. But the plot thickens like a Pfizer blood clot because Dick wasn't done making headlines for the week. How so? Well, in the midst of a rather inclusive amount of military-aged men flooding across our border from countries that hate America, including tens of thousands of men now coming from communist China, Dick proposed an idea that somehow nobody else had thought of before. Put those men, who are the enemies of America, into America's military. Now on this one, it's all upside, no downside, as far as we can tell. Take a look at this Dick proposing the idea to the Senate.
Says that if you're an undocumented person in this country and you can pass the physical and the required test, background test, the like, you can serve in our military, and if you do it honorably, we will make you citizens of the United States. Do we need that? Do you know what the recruiting numbers are at the Army and the Navy and the Air Force? They can't reach their quotas each month. They can't find enough people to join our military forces. And there are those who are undocumented who want the chance to serve and risk their lives for this country. Should we give them the chance? I think we should.
Okay.
I certainly think we should.
Now we finally see what their plan was all along. See, here's the thing.
Took them a while for them to reveal it.
Let me play devil's advocate for you for a while. My turn.
Go ahead.
You have a military made up of American citizens who love this country and love the people in this country and are sworn to serve and protect it. What happens when you flood the country with illegals and then use them as your military? And then want to do something against the American people? Versus using soldiers recruited from the American populace. Who's more likely to fire on the American populace? People who came here illegally or people who were recruited locally?
It's a scary thought, you know.
Just saying.
No, it's just your logic makes sense. I don't have anything to say. I'm just shut my mouth. Let's get back to the video.
Should as well, Dick. Consider why this is such a good idea. America has foreign enemies around the world, and those enemies want to kill Americans, eliminate freedom, and destroy America. One way that those enemies are scheming to destroy America is to get their own soldiers planted in the U.S. military, where they could essentially...
Darth Vader, you up to something?
I mean, you put 2 and 2 together, you come up with 4.
Yeah.
That's my logic.
Your logic was so on point. You sounded like Alex Jones for a minute.
Oh, hey, no, let's not get too ahead of ourselves.
Your prediction was too strong. You must be a conspiracy theorist.
Yes, I must be a conspiracy theorist.
How did he know that? Did you have some inside info? No, it's called common sense.
Exactly.
Just put the numbers together, man. 1 + 1 = 2. That's all. Oh, that's scary.
U.S. military, where they could essentially disable America's immune system so it can be taken over and destroyed. So there's no question that America has to protect itself from these hostile foreign nationals that want to infiltrate our military. Yet that takes a lot of manpower to be on the lookout for. Yet problem solved, because with Dick's idea, We could create soldiers out of the men that come from the countries that are America's enemies and use them to be on the lookout for the foreign nationals who are trying to infiltrate our national defense. They'd probably be good at it too, because these soldiers would be coming from the same countries. So they would probably know what to look for. Can't wait to see how this idea works out. All great empires throughout history have fallen, but luckily for us, Dick Durbin is helping make sure that the American empire doesn't fall. And while we implement Dick's expert military strategies, maybe we could also add some additional strategies. Like instead of bombing foreign targets, we just drop bombs on the US because it's closer and therefore there'd be lower fuel costs and less carbon emissions. Perhaps we could also arm our enemies so that we'd know what kind of weapons they're using against us, which would give us a strategic military.
Which we're already doing. But here's the thing. Have you noticed
that's why they're trying to put all these gun bans and magazine ban restrictions in place, is that way we have to register what we have so they know exactly what they're going up against. Knowing the firepower and strength of your enemy is like 90% of intel that what the government does in going into a war.
Yeah. That's a good point. I didn't think of it that way. Tina, it is scary. Yeah, we're already doing that by arming the enemy, and the only weapon will be used against us. Yeah, this is scary though, when you think about the way he puts it though, and what he is alleging to. We can't say for certain that's what's going to happen, but it's disturbing.
That's why they want all these pew pew registries.
Yeah. I want to hear partly what he said again.
Perhaps we could also arm our enemies so that we'd know what kind of or there'd be lower fuel costs and less carbon emissions. Perhaps we could also arm our enemies so that we'd know what kind of weapons they're using against us, which would give us a strategic military advantage. And while we're letting the good ideas flow, Dick, we could also bolster our low military recruiting numbers by using drag queens in recruitment advertisements to make even more people.
Yeah, there goes the thing. So,
Navy drag queens.
Yeah, I can't make sense of this. I don't know if my soldiers should be looking like that. Well, here's the thing.
I wouldn't want my soldiers looking like that.
Yeah. I'll have a hard time letting you stay and keep an eye on my children than keeping an eye over the Constitution and the country itself. But
I'd be like Z overboard.
So you have managed to demonize the youth, right, in our culture. You've told them that they are misogynist, they are sexist, they are toxic to be a man. So in our society, we've degraded masculinity, right? We've feminized our men so much that to the point where we had a video where one of them were talking about they would rather eat chips and twerk than to go in the army to fight for the value of this country. This is what we've done. This is what we've created, right? And now the recruiting numbers are so much less. Who's gonna join the army if all of them are acting like sissy boys? But the ones who are to be fighting, you call them white supremacists, right? You call them, you call them, you demonize them, you call them
racist.
You call them racist, you call them MAGA extremists. And these are the people who love this country. And if they carry an American flag, you say that they just hate the country. It's like, what a logic. Now here, from the left, you're destroying the army. From the right, you're destroying the army. So you can't make your quotas now. And now you're going overseas, allowing these people to come in so that you can feed them into the meat grinder. In the name of what? Diversity, equity, and inclusion. And you can't speak about it because if you dare, you're a xenophobe. But I'm not understanding these people. Like, it seems to me that the logic of the left is so illogical. I don't necessarily know. Like, this stuff is like the way they think. It's not even thinking. It's actually a backward way of looking at anything.
Even if they don't go overseas into a meat grinder, they're going to be used here at home against us.
And that's the danger. That's the danger.
Because these people are illegal. They have no connection here. They have no reason not to do what they're told.
Yeah, and some of them are feeling very entitled. If they come, they gotta get certain amount of money. If they're not getting it, it creates another problem because poverty also leads to crime. So some of these people, when they're dealing with poverty, poor situation, when they don't get what they want, they can turn against you in a heartbeat.
And they know if they serve, then, oh, look, I get free citizenship. So I'm going to serve, do whatever needs to be done, whatever they tell me to do, and just follow orders. And if you're in my way, well, guess what? Sucks to be you.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, guess what? It's going to suck to suck.
Yeah. Yeah. What make me an extremist? And that's the thing. If you love your country, that's all it takes for you to be an extremist. I fell in that list myself. So welcome.
People want to join the military. Oh, we're already doing that? The Navy is? Somehow it's not surprising that the Navy is doing that. That's it for today's news. We continue being successful at keeping Epstein's flight logs in the dark. We do have his little black book, though. We're not going to tell you who's in it. Why is Dick Durbin's name in here? Politicians keep working hard to protect the guilty from the innocent, and our national defense is gearing up.
I love the twist. I love how he included that in there. That's
Right.
perfect inclusion right there.
Yeah. That's
Talking
where
about
DEI
this is
comes
it.
in. Yeah, that's
the
when we
perfect use of DEI.
need
Oh my Lord. So that was a good one.
Gearing up to be as strong as Biden's ability to walk. And that's pretty strong. Good night.
Oh, I love me some JP, man. JP is that guy. Just having common sense is being an extremist. I know. That's the problem right there. Like, Megan, this is the problem. Yeah. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. I never thought, I mean, you told me 5-6 years from now, we will be talking about this kind of crazy nonsense and getting labeled just to have a thought on. And I'll be like, yo, you crazy. What kind of people will never be talking like this in America? But we are.
And that's the thing is most people see stuff like this about, oh, let them serve in the military and blah, blah, blah. And then we don't have to send our boys overseas. They don't think about things like this. Like, well, okay, yeah, you're going to send them overseas and like a meat grinder and stuff. Yeah, that's all fine and dandy. But what happens if the government decides to turn on us?
Yeah. And not only that, their loyalty is not
to
this
us.
country. Yeah.
To
Because they
this
have
country.
they have yet invested into the system and understand the value and the tradition of this country. So why will they come here and all of a sudden they get to join the army and then you think they're gonna be loyal to the actual people? The people who are willing to die for this country is because they know the value of what they have. And they know the people who have had history protecting the history, I mean, the country in itself and the Constitution and everything. This is why people are willing to die for it. My father served, my grandfather served, and knowing that legacy, these are some of the reasons why you do it. And you've been paying into the system. It benefits, you reap from it, and you build houses and family. Then when you go and say, I'm going to sacrifice myself for this country, it's because you've invested and you've benefited from everything that is in this country. So when a person is coming from overseas, just like that, they're allowed to come in. What makes you think they're going to be so dedicated to your country?
That's why Trump called it. That's why Trump called it an invasion force.
It kind of really is. And Trump is always saying like it is. That's why I love me some Trump. We have Trump on the channel tonight. You can be sure. I mean, today we have Trump on the channel. Listen, I love how John Adams said it, though. Facts are stubborn things. And whatever may be our wishes, our inclinations, and the dictates of our passion, they cannot alter the state of facts and evidence. Oof.
Truth.
Ooh, boy. The Bible says we can do nothing against the truth but for the truth.
Exactly.
So I can't get into that.
And that's the beauty of it is you see our right there. You can see our founding fathers translating scripture into common everyday knowledge.
Oh yeah, they did.
So those who want to make the argument that we're not a faith-based society, is utterly ridiculous.
Of course it is.
Like it's right there.
Yeah, it's written
that
in the
verse
principle.
and that
It's in-
saying.
Yeah, it's in the
They're
principle.
like a mirror image of each other.
Absolutely, absolutely. Compare and contrast. You can't do nothing against the truth, but for the truth. That's Bible.